Hi, good morning. How are you doing this morning? We have got an absolutely beautiful morning. Lovely sunshine. Look at the rainbow. Happy rainbows. Isn't that cute? I like that. Mm. Let me move all this and we will get started. Which way am I moving it? Let's move it this way. So what we have is I have a 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch square Zentangle tile. You can grab anything you have. I'm going to use a micron 01 or maybe a bigger nib 04, maybe 08. Not sure yet. Pencil. This is an HB pencil from Zentangle and a tortillon. So let's take a moment to say a thank you. And what are you grateful for today? Take a moment, reflect, relax. Okay. So I'm going to start with putting corner dots on my tile. My glasses would definitely help so I can see. There you go. So corner dots. It's a great way to get started. Put a mark on the paper and then a border. You can see it's not straight, that is okay. It's wibbly wobbly, that is okay. After the corner dots, I want to put a string. I am not quite sure what I am going with, but I think I'm going to start, I don't know, shall we split it in sections? Shall we, I don't know. Do you know what? I'm going to start with an orb again. So I'm going to go around and make an orb. And you can see it's not very round orb, and that is okay. So it's gone off a little bit there. I'm just going to come back and just bring it into, I want to stay within the border. So there we go. Here's an orb. And I'm going to put another one somewhere. So where should we put it? Let's have it here. You can put one in the center or one slightly off. I'm going to put it off so that just takes the pressure off me to get it centralized. So you can see I've got double lines and things, and that is okay. They're only pencil lines. So I'm going to take my pen and I am going to start with, what shall we do here? How about we do, I am confused. Can you tell I am confused as to what I want to do in here? I am going to, let's do a tangle called ribbon rose. Ribbon rose. And this is by, hold on, let me look it up. Alice Hendon. And she's a CZT. So let's start with that. So I'm going to do my ribbon rose in here. So for the ribbon rose, we start with a little curl and a little rounding and like a teeny tiny flux. And it's a fest, this is a fescue, and I'm going to ink that in. From here, I'm going to, where the tail is, I'm going to go around and around, and I'm going to intersect, go around I've got a rough circle there, so pretty much you would say scribbly. There we go. From there, what we do is we are going to make some of these outlines thicker. So I'm going to follow it around, come out, and there, and I'm going to color that in. Just inking it in. Take your time. If you've got white spaces, fill them in as you're inking it. Keep turning your tile around, and where you feel you want to put some thickness, you put it in and you ink it in. I think when you start adding these thicker lines, it adds a bit of drama to the tangle itself, and I think it just adds something really pretty to it. The same for the Tangle print top. I'm probably pronouncing it completely wrong. As soon as you add thicker lines to some of the line art, it just completely transforms the tangle. You can see I'm just turning it around as I go along. Yeah, slightly wider here. And there isn't anywhere specific that I'm making it wider, anything that feels good to me that I want to make it thicker, or if my pen, for example, is not going on the outline I'd done before, misses, that's always a great place to just thicken it up. It's so pretty, and you can see as soon as those lines, the inking in goes in, it just looks so pretty. And you may want to go, you may want to do your lines going towards you, away from you. I'm basically just putting the lines, just pretty much depending on what feels comfortable as I'm going around these curves. So there we go. So we've got one ribbon rose here. And you can see I did not stay within the inner circle I had drawn. I've gone out, and that is okay. That was just a guide of approximately where I want to put my tangle. So there we go. We've got one ribbon rose. Now, what do I want to do? Do I want to add another one or not? I think I am going to, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to aura this. So aura is following your previous line closely, just on the outside or the inside. So I'm going to aura this on the, oopsie, outside as close as, well, it's a couple of millimeters away, but you can have it as close as you want or as far as you want. I think I'm better coming towards me as I'm doing this. I'm just going over it again because my pen is beginning to dry out. So I'm not getting as nice strong black outline as I would like it. But so you don't need to go over it again if your pen is fine. So that's what we have. Okay. Now I am going to, and I, do you know what, to be honest, I don't know if there is a name for what I'm about to do. I will look it up and see if there is a name. Now, I know I drew an orb, but I've decided I want to go wibbly wobbly. So I'm going up and down. Just, it takes the pressure off to get it absolutely accurate and round and everything. And you can see it's really wibbly wobbly. And what I'm going to from there do, so there's my aura, but what I'm going to now come and do is I'm going to, using my pencil, I'm going to draw one more aura on the inside, but it's just a guide for me. You may be comfortable doing what I'm about to do in the next step. I am not as confident. So I'm just drawing an aura. It's not very accurate. Some places are thicker, like wider, and some places are narrower from the previous black outline. So you can see. So it's not very accurate, and that is fine. So what I'm going to do is, from the pencil line, I am going to, let's do a wide area from here. I'm going to loop bring the loop around. I'm giving it a little curve up to the aura around the ribbon rose. I'll just zoom in a little bit. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do those at 12, 3, 9. Oh, I start 6, did I? 12, 3, 6, and 9. Just to help me a little bit as to where I'm going to put the rest. Approximate. Again, you can see they're not absolutely at 12, 6, 3, 9. And then in between, I'm going to come in and actually, no, let's do this first. So from here, from the tip, I'm going to follow that around. I'm going to give it a little S curve and around and bring it to meet the point there. The same here, around, upside down S, around, and to meet the point. I'm sure there is probably a name for what I'm doing here. And I should have looked it up because I have been playing with this for a few days now. So I'm going to do another one. So a loop and around that, around to the point. I'm going to do another one here, loop. You can see some are wider, some are thinner. Some have more curvy loops. Some have less curvy loops. In some places, there will be more distance between one. If it looks like ribbon wrapped round, right? And once you do a few, your hand just gets used to following that rhythm. These are teeny tiny. So there we go, that's what we have. So at the moment, it doesn't look like a lot happening there, but it's so pretty. And I'm wondering if I want to add one more there or should I just leave it? I'm going to leave it. So next what I'm going to do is where we have the pencil line between two of these ribbons, I'm going to go over those pencil lines. So now it looks like those ribbon loops are coming out, wrapped around. Oops, I've gone off. So that's what we have. So what I'm going to do now is I want to ink in. I want to ink in, and I think this time round I'm going to ink in. You've got options. You don't have to do inking, but I'm going to ink it in. I can ink in these between the loops, or I can ink in the loops themselves. So what I'm going to do is for this one, I am going to ink in the loops themselves, and I'll tangle something in between wherever. So I've swapped to a 04, a bigger nib, because it will become quicker to ink this. So I'm just going to go ahead and ink the whole thing. So definitely use a bigger nib if you want. Take your time. I think my pen is drying. Let's turn it around. So where you see white spaces, just go back, fill them in. I may swap to another pen. Well, I will swap to a bigger pen because this is not, it's drying out, so it'll just take too long to get it nice and black. Now be aware that this is a lot of inking, so it may stay wet for a little bit longer. I will swap to, do I have a 08? Yeah, let's use a 08. So I'm using a 08, which is much bigger, and definitely this is going to be faster. Am I the only one who finds it very therapeutic to ink in large areas? I find it really therapeutic to just sit here with my pen and color in, basically, I think. I'm just going over the previous outline just to get it thicker and then fill it in. Oopsie daisy, slow down, Tina. Almost flew completely off the little curl. So this could take some time to do. So what I'll do is I'll continue doing this and pause the video so that you're just not watching me fill in all these spaces. And you can pause the video too till you have completed all your area, all your sections, sorry. Okay, let me pause it for a bit while I finish that. Okay, so you can see I've finished filling that in. So I have filled in the loops. Let me show you one that I did earlier. This is on a 3Z tile. And in here, I have inked in the opposite. So instead of the loops, I have inked in the middle areas on here, which are the blank areas. So a couple of ways. So I looked up the Tangle and it is Pepper, I think, by Zentangle ink. Okay, so in here, in the between areas, what I'm going to do is I am going to add, let me think, what should we add? I'll just go back while I'm thinking about what I want to put in there. I'll just make these stand out a bit more. Make sure your ink is dry before you put your oopsie daisy hand over the inked areas. Probably safer to have my hand outside the workspace. I think I'm gonna put, I don't know. I think I'm gonna go for something liney because we've got a lot of curves and things. So how about doing something with lines? We've got a lot of drama. How about something that has open space? So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to do let's do Shattuck. Shattuck, and this is again by Zentangle. Whoopsie daisy. Ink. So for Shattuck, now I like to, when I'm doing, let me show you at the back of here, I don't have a piece of paper. So for Shattuck, say you have two, you do a curve, and then aura to the point. You come this way, and you go opposite. And you aura. Back this way, aura. I prefer, or you can do them in straight lines. So straight like this if you wish. I think I'm going to follow a curve on the front, but we'll see. I prefer to actually do my zigzags first because it gives me a guide, a basic guide of where I'm going. So I would do all the ones that come along this side, like first. And then turn it round and go the opposite way, following from the longest outline, so the long outline here, and following it around. Yeah. So let's do that on the front. So like I said, I like to do my zigzag first. So I'm going to curve and just follow it. So you can do them as straight. I'm putting a little curve on them. And then along the longest, I'm going to aura. How far you want to aura, how many auras you want, it's absolutely up to you. I've left about a couple of millimeters between each aura. And then I'm going to turn this round and do it the opposite way. So if I was to aura this way, can you see it's just going to end up one bit? So I need to go the opposite way, which is this way, and follow it round. If you prefer, you can do one zigzag at a time, one triangular area at a time. And then over here, it would be this way. So this is the So there we go, we have shattered there. So I'm going to do that all the way around. So I'm going to do my zigzag first, little curve, opposite way. And this is going off there. So once again, I'm going to put my auras. Turn it around. And I find it easier to start on one that's a full triangle. So it's this one here before I go to the end ones. Gets basically my eye in where I want the auras to go. We'll come back to this side. You can see, keep turning your tile around there. So let's do one more. And then I will pause it again. And then I just like a pinwheel, keep turning it. Okay, let me pause it for a bit and get the other sections done. Okay, so here we go. That's all the shattuck in there. That looks so pretty. On the outside here, what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to just add something. No idea. What I'm going to first do is I'm going to actually restate my border. So I'm just going over the pencil lines. Approximately. So I'm going to put something in this space here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go to a bigger pen. I'm going to use the O4 and I'm going to restate my wibbly wobbly here. While I think about what I want to do in those spaces. There we go. So what should we do in here? How about just, I don't know. Can you tell while I'm thinking? I like to just go back, restate some lines. Gives me an opportunity for my mind to think of something and at the same time do something, because these lines were very light, so I knew they needed restating anyway at some point. So perfect opportunity to do this while I am restating them. There we go. Okay, so what should we do? How about some just diva dance or flux and muka, which would be lovely as well, with something, I think, or just even flux. I think I'm going to go with just flux. We will add some sort of organic to it. So for a flux, we curve around and back to the point, and then in the center line and a dot. So up, around, and this is going underneath. If it wasn't, we would have followed it round and back to the point. In between, I'm going to put an orb and fill that space up, ink it in. So I'm going to have it in going in different directions. Just ink that in. Teeny tiny one. No specific place, it just depends on what my hand feels like doing. So some are going underneath, some are over the top. Different sizes, some bigger, some smaller. Maybe a few in there. Sometimes it's easier to fill in with a smaller pen. I'm staying with the bigger one. But if I've got a teeny tiny pen, teeny tiny space, then I do sometimes tend to go back down to the 0, 1. With a nice large orb in there. There you go. That's one corner. So I'm going to do the same in the other corners. Some bigger, some smaller. Just following around. In some spaces, I'm putting orbs. In other places, depending on the space, I'm just skipping the orbs. Let me try it from here. There to break the space. And one here. There you go, two corners. How pretty does that look? That's looking very pretty. It's too narrow a space there. It's not very wide. So I've only got like really thin ones. So depending on how big the pepper is and how much space you have on the outside here, that you'll either get lots of flux or just a few. It's become really warm in here because of the sun. And I'm just doing them in various different directions. I'm just going to fill this space up with orbs. Almost there. There we go. That's what we have. That really, the flux really frames it nicely. Okay, let's add some shading. So for the shading, I am going to use this and the tortilla and the pencil. I forgot to mention something. Oh yes, when I was doing the shattuck over here, just there, you see I got the lines so these should have gone this way in this section, but I followed it, and you can see how the two end up being the same as opposed to where they go alternate in the different triangle sections. No mistakes, it is absolutely fine. But I just wanted to show you what it looks like when they go in the same direction in each section. Yeah. Okay, let's shade this. So the the rose here, how shall I shade the rose? What I'm going to do is I am going to there's a few ways. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about it first. Let me see. I'm trying to see which way I like the look of this. I think I want the rose on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my dark at the top coming down along the outlines. So I'm going to put a thin pencil line on the inside, and my pencil is not sharp, so I'm just using the point. So just on the top, so along the top outlines. It's just a thin pencil line because when we use the tortillon to blend this, it will move. It will come down a lot lower. So on oopsie daisy, on all the top outlines. And then I can decide if I want to add anything else. If I feel it needs more shading, I can always come back and add more shading at that point. Okay, let's blend that. So with the tortillon, I'm going to just go on the outline first, little round, and then bring it out a little bit. Very gently, I'm not pressing. I do not want to damage the paper. So I'm first blending on the pencil itself and then moving that color lower. There we go. I think I'm gonna move the color a little bit here. Okay, it looks different in the sun. So when I put it direct in the sun, it's a lot lighter. When I put it in sort of where the shadow falls, it looks very dark. So for the pepper, I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm not going to do each and I shall I? Shall I not? Um, no, I think I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I'm just going to go on the inside between each. Avoid going over the inked in areas, because what happens is when we put graphite over inked areas, it goes silvery and shiny and it doesn't look as black. So I'm going just between the inked areas where the shattuck is on the inside, and then I will do that on the outside too. And on the back where I did the shutter to show you, I will show you how you can also, what's it called? How you can also shade it differently. Let's do this one first. So just on the inside, you can shade each one individually, the shattuck, but I think I want the overall round look on the pepper. So I'm just doing in the center and in the center and something else and the outside. I think the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my chalk pencil to add just a rim around it. So what I'm going to use the Zentangle, the General's chalk pencil and a tortillon. So I've got a separate tortillon for my white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a ring. So I'm going to start here first. I haven't blended the pencil, the graphite yet. I'm going to put my white in first because I want the white to stay pretty white. And sometimes I find if my graphite has moved a lot, as I'm putting the white chalk, it picks up the graphite and then it doesn't look as white. So before I blend the pencil, I'm just putting the white with my chalk pencil. Now the General's chalk pencils are absolutely amazing. I just love these chalk pencils. They blend so beautifully. They're so soft. And I'm using just at an angle. And you know, with the white especially, you don't always necessarily need to use a tortillon to blend. You can just leave it and depending on how white you want it, I'm going to use a little bit of the, I'm going to blend a little bit, not a lot because I don't want to lose the whiteness. So there we go. So that's why I'm doing the white first before I blend the black because I don't want this to be contaminated with the black, which may move quite far. So again, I'm using it at a low angle and I'm just blending over the top. Very gently. So where I had the space, where it was less space between the outside and the center, I've done a thinner line with the pencil, with the chalk pencil, and wider where there was the wider space. So there we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over just one more time, but this time I'm not going to blend it, I'm going to leave it. When you do the chalk pencil, do make sure that your ink at the bottom is absolutely dry. So I'm not going to blend that. I've put the pencil down already, so I'm just going to go in there and blend the pencil. I'm coming out, starting with the pencil, coming out. I'm avoiding going on where I put the white. If the space is like where it's getting narrow here, I'm going to stop before I get to the white. I'm just doing one section at a time, avoiding going on the black, the inked area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bit more dark in the center. It will make it look more rounded. And just blend it a little bit, not a lot. I don't want to make it light again, just a bit. And so it ties in with the blending of the first layer. There we go. So we've got that. We're going to come to the outside and repeat. So where we had put the pencil, I'm just going to go back, blend it. Again, not going as far as the white is. I must remember to show you the shadow at the back to blend that in a different way. There we go. And then once again, I'm going to put a bit more black. And then not blend it, but not as much. Okay, so let's do that. So just a little bit, not as much. So it will look quite dark at the top as well, like it did in the center. It's because the sun's shining. I don't know how well. When I look at my screen, you don't see it like I'm seeing. So I hope on the video it's coming across as okay. There we go. I'm just gonna rub this a little bit with my finger. Just a little bit. So we've got that. It looks very different, honestly, when I'm looking on the screen and the sun shining on it to what it actually looks like in front of me. The flux at the center of each one, I'm just putting a little bit of graphite. I'm not going to worry about which ones are going underneath, which ones are going at the top. I'm just going to put on the basically the middle, not the middle, the ends. Just a tiny bit because this will spread as well. And some of them are really tiny. Did I put that? Just a bit. If you were doing like flux on bigger air as your main features, you could also put shading just underneath the ones that go underneath. So for example, this one, you could put a bit more graphite just under there and blend it in this one, so it will look like this one is on top of that. But I'm not going to do that. Oops, not the white pencil. I've just put it basically in the on the ends. Of course, a bit of subtle shading for this time around. I feel that, you know, when we add shading, it really does transform the tile. It goes from like flat drawing to almost 3D. Just with a graphite pencil, I find that like amazing. I love colors too, and you know, at some point I'd love to do it on a colored tile to color the tile and things. At the moment, I'm quite enjoying the black and white. So there we go. That's what we have. Look, another rainbow. How pretty is that? So that's what we have. Have a look at it. See whether you need to add any more shading anywhere. What I'm going to do is just for the last bit, I'm just going to go back and restate some of the lines. So I'm just going on the outside of my rose. Because like I said, graphite can tend to make it, if you've got it over the inked areas, it sort of dulls the black, it looks silvery. I'll go over the aura. This is what we call adding a bit of love to your tile. And like in life, we cannot add too much love. So it depends on how much you want to go over, how many lines you want. Oops. I'm gonna just do just the main outside lines. Especially places where I have a lot of graphite. Just to reclaim our lines. Can you see where I've already done the lines, redone them, and here where I haven't done them, how those lines really stand out now? It's really worth doing this little bit extra to finish off. And if you see any white spaces, fill them in. There, done those. So there we go, that's what we have. Have a look and see if you want to add anything else on it. If you're happy with that, we leave that. I haven't done anything to the orbs. You're welcome to, if you want, shake them, shake them. You can also add gold gel pen, bronze gel pen, anything. I quite like the contrast of the shaded fescue and just the orbs left as they are. So it's absolutely up to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my work, just sign. Oh, look, I forgot to show you the shattered, didn't I? After saying. So shattered can be, what's it called? You can shade shattered individually as well. So for example, if I take these three, I would put where the aura, at the end where the auras meet, the main line there, along here, along there. So again, it will go in a zigzag fashion. And then with the blending, I'm just gonna very gently. So you can do it individually too, and it's amazing what this looks like when you do blend it individually. It's really beautiful, but you see, in on this tile, it wouldn't have been worth doing each one individually, because I knew I wanted to put that and make it look like a dome. So to do individually wouldn't have made sense. But if it was a standalone, not standalone, but in a different setting, you could shade them individually like that. So I'm just going to just add my name. take a moment to initial sign. Today's date is 23/2/2024. Thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it. And sign it on the front. Now, when you sign it on the front, decide which way you like it. You know, turn your work and see. So when I was doing the shading for the rose, I thought I wanted it this way. But now that the whole tile is complete, it's worth having a look once more and seeing which way do you prefer it. So, see, I quite like the rose that way too. Now I think I'm going to have it the way I originally thought I was going to. And I'm just going to sign it here. And yeah, look at your work, appreciate your work. I hope you had a nice time. And I look forward to seeing your creations. If you do try it out, please do tag me on social media so I can have a look. Sorry, just last few bits that I look at and I think it needs something. There you go. I'm going to leave it before I keep just adding more and more and more. I'm going to call it done. Thank you very much for joining me. And till next time, take care. Bye.